Thank you for joining us tonight for Ready, Set, Kindergarten. My name is Craig Canby. I'm the Director of Elementary Education at Lindbergh School District, and we would like to hopefully share some valuable information for you if you're prospective parents coming into kindergarten, whether you have a brand new kindergartner or maybe you have an older child and this is one of the younger siblings that's coming to kindergarten. I'm going to start with some introductions of my fellow panelists here this evening. We can go to the next slide, please, Tony. So we have with us tonight Dr. Sarah Valter, who is our district literacy coordinator. So she's going to come in on some of our early literacy slides in our presentation. We have Miss Alyssa Sontag, who's a kindergarten teacher at Kinnerly Elementary. Mrs. Claire Eads, who is a kindergarten teacher at Dressel Elementary. And we will also have Mrs. Dana Fisher, who is experiencing some technical difficulties. Sometimes doing these from home can get a little tricky, but Mrs. Fisher will be joining us shortly, and she is also a kindergarten teacher at Dressel. So like I said, thank you for joining us tonight. Let's go to the next slide, Tony. Some valuable information for everyone. So we have our schedule when kindergarten registration begins here on this slide. So you can see Kinnerly Elementary School, the window for registration actually began today. And then each elementary will have a week coming up. Next week is Crestwood, then on to Long, Dressel, Concord, and Sappington. If you miss your window, that's absolutely fine. You can come and register at any time after your window opens. You will see, if you're not sure what kindergarten or which elementary you would be attending, there's a link on our website where it says map and boundaries, and you can click and type your address in, and it'll tell you exactly which elementary school you should register at. If you have any questions whatsoever about kindergarten registration, you would contact our district registrar, who is Terry Musante. And we have a special email address just for kindergarten registration questions, where you can see it's registrar@lindberghschools.ws. And if you would want to reach her, leave her a voicemail about registration questions. That phone number is bolded there, 314-729-2444. Also, any questions, that link to the map and boundaries is on the website that we have there at the bottom of this page. If you type in go.lindberghschools.ws/register, that will take you right to the page where it has all the links that you need to get your kindergarten registration experience off and running. Now, before we go any further, I have two pieces of advice for all the parents here this evening. Number one is register as soon as possible. And I say that for a couple of reasons. Number one is we want to get your kids in our rosters as quickly as we can. The sooner we have you registered, then we can set up, we do spring kindergarten screenings. So we want to make sure that happens. So if you're registered, that means you're going to be on our roster. We'll be able to set up a screening. Now, what that allows us to do is make informed decisions when we start to do class placements. So it's very important to us as buildings, as teachers, to know as much information about your incoming kindergarten students as we possibly can. Also, that gets you on our mailing list, and we will have different spring events and different summer events. So we'll make sure we can get you invited to any building tours that we have in the spring, parent orientation, and then any summer play dates that the individual elementaries would schedule. We'll get you invited to all that. So we want to get you registered as soon as we possibly can so you don't miss out on any of the fun stuff we have before kindergarten even starts. My second piece of advice is enjoy the ride. There's going to be ups, there'll be downs, there'll be laughter, may even be some tears. I remember I sat in your seat not too long. It doesn't seem like it was very long ago at all. But now I say that as I had the anxiety of being my oldest going to kindergarten. What's this going to be like? Now, I was a teacher, so I kind of knew what to expect, but it's a little different when your kid is going off to kindergarten. You know, there's excitement, of course, but then there's also that anxiety of the unknown. My child's going to be away from me. And now, in the blink of an eye, my daughter we're visiting universities, and I'm ordering graduation announcements. So soak it up and enjoy it as much as you can, because it's a wild ride and it goes by in a hurry. So enjoy your children as much as you can while you can. And Mrs. Fisher also has a senior this year, but she disappeared on us again. So hopefully Mrs. Fisher will be back soon. But enjoy everything. And the one thing to keep in mind is that regardless of the ups and downs, that we're all on the same side here. We're all on the same team. Everyone at school and all the families, we want your children to be as successful as possible. So we're always in the tug of war, we're pulling on the same side. So always keep that in mind. Next slide, Tony. So this QR code at the top, if you're watching on a bigger screen on a laptop or on your personal computer, if you want to hold your phone up, that QR code will take you to that registration link that I mentioned earlier. And on that web page, I have a little screenshot there at the bottom. You have 3 different links down there, and the first 2 were the ones that would apply to us for kindergarten registration. So if you're a brand new family, this is your first child going to Lindbergh, you would click on that new families in Lindbergh schools to get started. But if you already have students in the Lindbergh School District or had students, you can click on the existing families to get started with your registration. So when you click, if you follow that QR code or you follow the link that we gave you on the previous slide, those are the 2 links that you want to take afterwards. As we go through the presentation tonight, there is a Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. So please feel free to type in any questions that you have as we go along, and myself and the teachers will be monitoring those. We'll answer some of those live. I might type some answers in directly to you, but we'll try and get everyone's questions answered as we go through tonight. And then we had one question already about, will the video be available if some families had to leave early? And yes, it will. It'll be on the district YouTube page later this week. So if you have to leave early and you want to catch this later, if you just want to watch it again because it was so entertaining, then by all means, check us out on YouTube later this week. And I will have this QR code up on the final slide of the presentation again tonight. So if you didn't get your phone out yet, you can come back. The QR code will be up again later. Next slide, Tony. We're going to start with pre-academics, and we were all set up for Mrs. Fisher was going to go through and do our pre-academics for us. And this was her part of the script, and she's, like I said, having some technical difficulties, but we're going to go ahead. Mrs. Eads, her partner at Dressel, is going to step up and go through some of our pre-academics for us.
Yeah. So first of all, so glad you're all here. And I mean, I think I speak for the kindergarten teachers here and kindergarten teachers across the district that we love teaching and we love being that first experience that kids have with school and helping them love school. And we're already excited to meet your kiddos. So let's see, some self-help skills that help when students are entering kindergarten. Really like practicing how to put on a coat. Velcro shoes are good. Later in the year, sometimes we learn to tie shoelaces, which is always great to practice, but not usually an entering kindergarten skill. For cleaning up after yourself, or that's a really important skill in kindergarten because there are, 15 to 20 students who are all working sometimes in a different space, and really being able to clean up after yourself. That's a great skill for everyone to learn, and also helps the classroom function. Following routines and schedules, that's definitely something as kindergarten teachers, we really know how important it is to have those routines, whether it's at home or at school, and having those schedules so that students really know what to expect. Listening and following rules, especially 2-step directions. That's something that is really something that we work on a lot in kindergarten. So if you are able to, say to your child, like, okay, brush your teeth and put on your pajamas, or things that require remembering not just that first step, but also keeping in mind that second step. Opening up food items, that's also something that really helps when it's snack time or lunch time, and being able to open up their own food container, or if they have like a plastic Ziploc bag, being able to close it, that's great. And a lot of that requires a lot of fine motor skills, but those are good things to practice too. Learning not to throw ice packs away, or anything that you want coming back in their lunchbox. That's good too. Being able to ask for help when needed, using writing tools appropriately, and holding them like, here I happen to have a pencil, but holding them like this, but not holding it like with this kind of a grip. And that's something we'll also work on, but it's always good if they have heard that before when they get to kindergarten. Using scissors and glue correctly. And again, going with that, being able to clean up after using scissors and glue, and being responsible for their supplies and toys. In addition to that, being responsible for like, okay, where is my lunchbox? Where is my coat? And when they leave school, this is something we're working on a lot right now, but making sure that you have your backpack and your coat and your gloves and your hat. So anytime you can work on those skills with your child, that will help them when they get to kindergarten.
I want to add one thing in there, Mrs. Eads. Now, so I was a building principal for 9 years, and I'm also I've been married for 20 years to a kindergarten teacher. So I feel like I know kindergarten world very well. One of the things that we always talk about is communication skills. So working with your students on answering questions that require more than a one-word answer, and then being able to communicate their wants and needs, maybe to their peers and also to the teacher. But just having those conversations, which I think sometimes we ask pretty direct questions of our little ones, but expecting them to give more than a one-word answer, more than yes or no, and have them kind of explain when you're asking them some questions. Why are they happy, or why are they angry, or how are you feeling today, and what makes you feel that way? Just being able to explain a little bit gives us a little bit more knowledge of what kind of day they're having, and maybe why they're making some of the choices they're making, and how we can help them out.
Next slide. All right, so toilet training, going along with good self-help skills that really help make kindergarten the best for everyone in the classroom. Please work on teaching your child to use the bathroom independently. So we talk about using the bathroom without looking under the doors, being able to wipe on their own without an adult's help, flushing, and then washing hands. Yes, so as many things as your child's able to do out of that, that's really, really helpful. We do ask for extra clothes at the beginning of the year, and then later on as weather changes, because accidents do happen, and sometimes even maybe you go down the slide when it's a little wet, and so you need an extra pair of clothes. So we do make sure that that's an option, but we hope that accidents are not something that happen very frequently. So being potty trained is very important thing for starting kindergarten. Next slide. Okay, this one's me too. Next slide. So to start off, I know sometimes, especially as adults, sometimes play can seem frivolous or kind of like an extra thing, but for children, it really is important. And I'm not the first person to say this by any means, but play really is the work of children. So while children are playing, they're building problem-solving skills, working on reading and writing skills, math skills, things that they might be learning explicitly throughout the day. They really get to learn through experiences and when they're playing. So that's why we really make sure that we set time in the day. It's part of our schedule, part of our routine to play. And these are just some different kinds of play that you might already be doing with your child, but that will help them play with a purpose in kindergarten. So playing games that require taking turns, that's a really great skill to learn. Games that have a winner and a loser. Those also help when kindergartners get to the classroom and are having those experiences with their peers. Role playing, so maybe asking a friend to play, what to do if that friend doesn't want to play with you, or maybe they're playing with a different friend, and how it's okay if people play with different people. That's okay. And especially because with COVID, sometimes students have had different or less experience in playing with their peers, being able to role play what it looks like to have a conversation with a friend, or talk about what might happen if you are wanting to play with a friend and they really only want to play what they want to play. So thinking, how can you deal with that as a person? Also using feelings or using words to explain how you're feeling. A lot of times children have a variety of emotions, but they don't always know how to use words to explain what they're feeling. They might not have the vocabulary for it. So being able to help them identify what they're feeling and why, and being able to say things like, I am sad because you knocked my tower down. So being able to identify it, but then also being able to say why. And then sometimes, maybe you can tell that person how they can fix it when they did knock your tower down, or just as an example. You can also talk about that when reading books. If there's a character that, had an experience, maybe you can ask, how do you think that character is feeling? So that then maybe in a situation when that child is in that same situation, they can make a connection back to a book that they read. And imaginative play, great as well. So anytime you can sort of like create a story. So using words to, when you're playing in the kitchen, like, what are you making in your kitchen? Maybe using blocks. What will this block structure be used for? What does this baby doll need? And open-ended play using blocks, dolls, craft supplies. I might have frozen there for a minute, but just going on about what will this block structure be used for? What does this baby doll need? And using open-ended play is really something we do a lot in kindergarten.
Thank you, Claire. So wonderful job stepping up and doing some slides you weren't prepared for. So we appreciate that. I just want to add on a little bit in the fact that at the beginning of kindergarten, it's important throughout the entire year, but at the beginning of kindergarten, the play and the social interactions is probably outweighs the importance of the academic skills here at the beginning of the year. The social skills that these kids will develop at the beginning of the school year is what's going to make them to be successful later in life. And I think back, some will have more challenges than others. Some may have plenty of brothers and sisters, or maybe they've gone to a daycare and got to work a lot of these authentic experiences out. I was an only child, so I didn't have those same advantages at home of working with others. So if you have an only child, or maybe your oldest is coming to kindergarten, this might be some new stuff for them, and it will develop some very important skills as they go on through their school careers. We can go to the next slide. Tell me.
All right, I'm going to talk about some early literacy things that you can start working on at home. So next slide. Start reading with your child every night. Not only does this help build their pre-reading skills and their language skills, but it also helps them build a love of reading. And so if you start now by making it part of your nightly routine or your daily routine, that's going to really help as you transition into kindergarten. And that's usually an expectation from the kindergarten teachers, that you read with your child each night. So start now, make it a really exciting, fun thing for your child. Go to the library and pick out some books and get them really excited. When you're picking out books, make sure you pick a variety of different books, stories, some nonfiction, with a wide range of interests, so that they just start to really enjoy reading. Another advantage is that it helps them build their patience. So we do a lot of sitting and listening to stories in kindergarten. So if you start working on listening to a whole book from beginning to end, is going to be really helpful as your child starts kindergarten. And then have them sit in your lap or right next to you and have them be in charge of the book. Have them turn the pages, talk about the front cover, the back cover, show them which direction to read the words in. And then when the book's finished, have them put it away and talk about how you treat books, how we need to be careful with the pages. Typically in the classroom, there's a lot of books for the kids to be using independently. So if your child knows how to treat the books already, that will be an awesome thing to bring into kindergarten. And then when the book's finished, talk about the book, ask some questions. Like Mrs. Eads was saying, make connections to their life. Have them retell you the beginning, middle, and end of the story. You can talk about unfamiliar words as you're reading and don't just skip over them, talk about what they mean, and then encourage them to share that book with someone else in the family. Tell them to go tell them what happened in the story and sequence the events. If you can print out pictures or make copies of the book and have them put the pages in order, some of the big events in order, that's really helpful because that's a skill that we work on in kindergarten. Another thing that you should work on is your child's first name. It's really important that they're able to identify the letters in their first name and know that their name starts with a capital and the rest are lowercase. Make it a fun experience though. When you're practicing writing, have them use different mediums like chalk, paint, crayons, shaving cream, whatever. Get your kid excited. You can even turn their name into a puzzle. If you write it out on a piece of paper, you can cut it apart and have them mix up the letters and put it back in order. Another important thing as they're coming into kindergarten is that they're able to identify their name. So when they look for their cubbies or their desk. So one way you can practice this is by writing out different family members' names and having them look for which one is their name. And you can also talk about how many letters are in each person's name in their family and have them count the letters in their name. Next slide. Another important part of early literacy is handwriting. And one thing as a kindergarten teacher, we are encouraging kids to do is write their letters starting at the top. So what that means is if you look at the picture of the A, when they write their A, they should start with the 1 and go start at the top line and go slant down, pick up their pencil, go back up to the 2, slant down, and then cross it with at the 3. A lot of kids like to start their letters starting with the pencil at the bottom line, and that's a habit that we try to break when they get into kindergarten. Like Mrs. Eads was saying earlier, working on their pencil grip, making sure they're not holding it with a whole fist and things like that. And have them practice writing with a variety of tools, using crayons, pencils, markers of different sizes. With that, also encourage them to put the caps on the markers and start talking about how to treat materials, because typically in classrooms, they either have a shared community supplies or they have their own pencil box where they're responsible for their supplies. So starting to teach responsibility when it comes to that is huge. Practice writing or drawing for enjoyment. You can do this by just getting them excited about drawing. Give them some white pieces of paper and just let them create. You can also do this by creating a place in your house where this could be their office and they can sit and they could write, and get them just have all their tools and things like that, or give them some fun markers or whatever gets your kid excited to just draw and write is awesome. Again, talk to them about the writing materials, ask them to tell you what their picture is about. These are huge things that we work on in the first few weeks, but it's important that if your child comes in with this, they'll be very successful. Practice saying and singing your ABCs, saying and singing both, and then work on nursery rhymes like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Bingo, Hey Diddle Diddle. Just practice saying those or reciting them. You could even put motions with them to get the whole body involved. And the important thing with these is that they help kids start hearing rhyming words and start working with words and sounds. Next slide.
Right, this one's me. Melissa already gave a lot of these great tips. Just to add on to the great things that she already said. First of all, before we even get into what's on the slide, I know as a parent myself, as a second grader and a fourth grader, and you feel like you want your kid to be ahead of the game. You're worried if they're not entering kindergarten already ready to read some things. And kindergarten is really about getting ready to be a reader. So just thinking about the power of talk, as we've already said several times, conversation, having your child share information. If they're obsessed with dinosaurs, let them talk about dinosaurs. If they're obsessed with Disney princesses, talk about princesses. Encourage them to do that active storytelling, and encourage them to elaborate. If they come and tell you something exciting that happened, ask them questions to get them to stretch that story out, because that's something eventually that they're going to do as writers. As we said, making reading just a fun and regular part of your routine, giving kids lots and lots of choice about what they read, and what you read to them. That letter awareness is key. So we already kind of talked a lot about their names. Helping them hear sounds is really important. So this can be something as simple as, during cleanup time, can you pick out 3 toys that start with the B sound? So they're starting to hear those beginning sounds of words, because that's what we work on first, is hearing those onset or beginning sounds. Or, can you, tell me something that starts like this, or something that rhymes like that. Letter formation, we already talked about. Just to reiterate again, those letters starting at the top. Name recognition, knowing their name, knowing the names of family members. Also, it helps to at least know the first letter of their last name in case they have a classmate that has the same first name that they do, so that they can start to distinguish when things are labeled. Encouraging drawing for enjoyment and as a precursor to writing. So before kids can put words onto the page, they're going to put scribbles onto the page, they're going to put pictures onto the page. And we really want kids to see paper as something that they can use to jot down and communicate a message. And then as much as you can play with words through singing, through rhyming, through sounds, things that you can do in the car. I see something that rhymes with tire, and see if they can say fire station or something like that. So that was a terrible example, but just anytime you can work in rhyming, work in beginning sounds, what do you hear at the beginning of this word or that word? Anytime you can get kids playing with sounds, not even looking at print, but just building what we call phonemic awareness, that awareness that words have sounds, syllables, clapping out the parts of words, all of those pieces are really important early literacy skills that we work on pretty quickly when kids get into kindergarten. Next slide.
Next slide. All right, so I would say the biggest takeaway when thinking about math for your incoming kindergartner is, how can you make math real for your child? How can you make it something that is part of their everyday life? A lot of math concepts can be pretty abstract, but really making it something that they understand, that is meaningful to them, that's really key. So practice counting out loud and counting objects especially. So maybe when you're cleaning up, you are asking your child to pick up the blue items, and then that thinks about identifying color, practices identifying colors as well. Maybe find the things that are round, and as they're cleaning up, they're counting how many things there are that are round, and that can help with the one-to-one correspondence. So knowing, okay, I picked up 1 round item. If I pick up another one, that's 2, and so on. Sorting objects by color, finding shapes in the environment. So along the same lines as what Sarah or Dr. Walter was saying, when you're walking down the street, like, oh, I see a rectangle. And then maybe they can find the rectangle too, or maybe they find a different rectangle. And talking about less and more. Position words, beside, under, below, above, and anytime you can, make these related to what you are talking to them about. So
Claire, can I let me add on to that one?
Yeah.
It's not as good as your authentic conversation of walking down the street pointing out rectangles, but I think our position words, there's so many times when we'll say like, can you put this on top of that? Or can you put this inside, put this game back inside the cabinet, or get in front of so-and-so in line, or get behind so-and-so in line. And for the students to know that will be important. We work on it. It's actually, I know they're prepositions really, so you'd think it's grammar, but it actually comes into math lessons in kindergarten. But the more you can use those, the better to kind of get them prepared. Sorry to jump in there on you, Clay.
No, that's okay. But yeah, like put the chair under the table or stand beside me while we walk. And anytime you can kind of incorporate those, and they'll understand that. And then that helps them think about context too. Using counting in daily routines. So maybe you're doing the dishes, like let's count how many cups there are here, or let's set the table, how many plates do we need. And that really, so that makes math real for them. Like, here, this is a tool that I'm using that is helping me set the table. And then beginning to identify numbers, that's also great too. So being able to associate, oh, like I picked up 4 blue toys. Okay, here's the number 4, being able to make those connections is also good. Next slide.
And another fun way with that is playing games. If you have dice, rolling the dice and letting the kids figure out, what did we roll? So they can start to make that connection between, there's 4 dots on the die, so that means I rolled the 4.
Mm-hmm. And baking's another great way. Any like baking, cooking, there's a lot to do with numbers and measuring and things like
under
that.
Adult supervision.
Yes, of course.
All right, I'm sure you're wondering what kindergarten will be like after hearing all of this, and you're going to send your kindergartner off in the fall. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the first few days are going to be like. So next slide. So it's going to be a lot of community and team building. We're all coming together for the first time, all learning each other's names. So we're going to do a lot of opportunities for kids just to play and learn and develop relationships with each other. There'll be learning stations so that teachers can observe academic, social, and fine motor skills. There'll be a lot of cooperative learning activities to promote positive peer relationships and social and emotional learning. And we're just going to have lots of fun. We want them to want to come back every single day of the first week. And so we are just going to get them excited. We'll be reading lots of stories, especially about like kids that are going to kindergarten for the first time. We'll be talking about our emotions as we're getting ready for the first day of kindergarten. But our thing is, when we want them to leave, we want them to get ready, or want them to be ready to come back the next day and get excited. So it'll be a lot of fun activities. Next slide. So how can you get your child get ready? So this is a lot of information, but as you're starting to talk to your child about kindergarten, make sure it's in a positive way, get them excited. Like I said, there's a lot of books out there about kindergarten, and we're going to share a few in a little bit. So start getting some of those books from the library, just get them excited. Make sure you sign up for kindergarten so you get the information about the play dates, because getting your child up to the playground during those play dates is going to make them feel more comfortable in the first few days, because they'll meet some kids that could be in their class, they'll meet teachers. Like I said earlier, start reading to your child every night, start making a routine. One of the best movies out there is The Letter Factory by Leapfrog. It's on Netflix or on YouTube, and it really goes into all the letters and the sounds. So start playing that in your house. If you haven't already, I recommend putting it on repeat, because kids will pick up a lot from that. In kindergarten, we have a daily schedule, usually posted somewhere in the classroom with pictures, and we're very routine. So if you can start something like that at home, or just getting your child in like a morning routine, when they get up, they brush their teeth, they change their clothes, then they come down for breakfast, that's all going to make your life so much easier once school starts. So if you can't do it for the whole day, start doing it for little times of the day, like maybe lunchtime or getting up or going to bed. Practice those self-help skills like buttoning and tying or zipping or doing Velcro, and use your environment as a learning tool. So like Mrs. Eves was saying earlier with math skills, playing I Spy in the car is a really fun game. You could say, I spy something that starts with the letter T, and then have them try to figure out what you're saying, what you're seeing, have them start, when you get to a stop sign, be like, what do you think that word says? And try to get them just used to the print in their environment. Practice cutting. It doesn't always have to be with paper. You can use other things like straw or, different things like foam sheets. It's going to make cutting a little bit harder and make their fine motor skills stronger. Use Play-Doh. That's something that we use a lot in the classroom. So not only get them familiar with it, but also that helps build some of the muscles in their hands, and then talk about closing that lid of the Play-Doh when it's done is helpful. And then slowly transition nap time out. In kindergarten, typically there is a short rest time. Some kids will fall asleep at the beginning because kindergarten is a pretty big change for them. So usually it's longer at the beginning of the year and it starts to become shorter. But if your kid is not a kid that does naps, typically the teacher will have them color or read or do something quietly at their spot. So that is how you can get your kid ready for kindergarten. Next slide. So here are some book recommendations. We all picked a few. So my favorite is Clifford Goes to Kindergarten. Kids all know who Clifford the Big Red Dog is. So seeing him go to kindergarten is kind of an exciting thing for them. So that's a great book for you to check out from the library.
I know Miss Fisher really likes Chrysanthemum, and she talks, and we all talk about a lot about names and how important it is to learn each other's names and to learn each other's names correctly and be able to say them so that you know how to talk to that person if you're wanting to play with them. All Are Welcome, another great book about how, school is really a place where we want everyone to feel like they belong and to know that that is a place where they're going to learn and enjoy their day. And We Don't Eat Our Classmates is another one that we'll read in the first week, about a dinosaur who hasn't been to kindergarten before and doesn't know all the rules about not eating your classmates.
And if your kids have not read any of the Mo Willems books yet, you need to hit the library as fast as possible. All the Elephant and Piggy books are amazing. The Knuffle Dunny books are fantastic, and definitely The Pigeon. And specifically for heading off to kindergarten, The Pigeon Has to Go to School is just a great book for exploring just that range of emotions in a super friendly, child-friendly way. It's amazing. So highly recommend The Pigeon.
I didn't have any book recommendations, but I'm going to talk about some of the questions that were asked. I tried to answer all the questions in the Q&A that came up. One was about the screening. So once again, here's the registration link and the QR code. So I advise you to get registered as soon as possible, so you can make sure that you're on the schedule for our play dates and our parent orientation and the spring screening. So the screening is an appointment where you actually bring your child up to school, and one of the teachers from your building will do 15 to 20 minute screening with the child while the parents are filling out a questionnaire. And that just helps us to get to know the students a little bit better, where they are academically, socially, fine motor skills, gross motor skills, things of that nature. One of the questions was, what if my student's a little bit behind, a little bit ahead? So we like to practice responsive teaching in Lindbergh. So your child's teacher is going to respond to the needs of your student. So if we need to make some accommodations or adjustments, we will do so to make sure we're meeting the needs of your particular student. Several questions about, am I an existing family? If I went to ECE, yes. ECE families, you should be in our student information system, what we call SIS. So a lot of your information should already be in the system. It's easy to transfer over. One question, Alyssa and Claire, I need a little help with. The original question was, how much is free play versus structured time as the year goes on? I said, we'll start off a little bit more free play, and then it evolves into more structured time as the year goes on. And, we kind of see what the class needs. But one of the questions got a little bit more specific of how long is that quiet time or rest time at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, so I would say on the structured versus less structured time, that does depend a little bit on the specific classroom, but um, after the first month or so, it is a pretty structured day. So there is time where it's not structured, like playtime, but that's still within the structure of the day. So we really find that kindergartners thrive when they know what to expect, and we really try to provide that for them. And so we give them those choices and options within structure. As for rest time, that also can depend somewhat on teachers and the needs of the class. So sometimes I've had classes that really need that rest time, especially at the beginning of the year, but sometimes after a couple months, they show that that's really not something that's helping their day. So it might look a little bit different. So right now, for example, in my classroom, it's more of a cafe time where students color or draw pictures. So they're not asked to do a lot academically. It's still like a time for them to sort of rest their brain, but they're not actually expected to be sleeping. So usually by halfway through the year, that can start to look different in the classroom, but there are some classes that benefit from about 20 to 30 minutes of rest time the whole year.
I would say one of the things that's different from uh, preschool to kindergarten is it is more structured, to where we do a lot of things as a class together. So we're all going to recess together. We're all having that rest time at the same time. We all go and eat lunch together. We have snack time at the same time. So I think it was Miss Sontag who mentioned to kind of start to build a routine over the summer to kind of get them ready, and a bedtime, waking up at a certain time, even to begin in August 1st to kind of get them ramped up for school. I think that would be very important. Couple more questions. One was, is there still a half day kindergarten option? We are completely full day at this point. So we no longer have the half day kindergarten option. And is there a kindergarten readiness list for review? When your child comes in for the screening, I think we have like a 1-page, things to work on to get ready for kindergarten. It's not necessarily a readiness list, but it's just some things that would be important for your child to work on before that first day of school. And I think we've answered all the questions. How much time is spent on electronics in the classroom? It doesn't matter if it's kindergarten through seniors in high school. We can't give a blanket statement on that. It depends on the lesson. It depends on what we're hoping to accomplish. Some days, it could be as little as 5%, and then other days it could be 50%, just depending upon what we're trying to accomplish with our lessons that day. So it kind of ebbs and flows depending upon what our outcomes are. How long is a school day? That's a great question. So school actually begins at 8:55. Students can enter the school as early as 8:40, and teachers will be in the classroom at 8:40 a.m. Kids can come in, and they'll start working. After 8:55, that's kind of when the first bell rings, even though we don't have bells. And then we start dismissal at about 3:35, hoping to have buses loaded about 3:45 and have them on their way off the school property. Now, I say 3:35 to 3:45 because dismissing an elementary school is quite a task. So as I can see Claire looking at me on my screen right now, Dressel has almost 700 students, and we want to make sure we get all those students in the right place at the end of the day, whether that's in the right car or on the right bus, and making sure they're getting home. So it takes a little bit to dismiss at the end of the day, and especially at the beginning of the year. So we appreciate your patience as dismissal times take a little bit longer at the beginning of the school year. If you do have a kindergartner who's riding the bus, we ask that a parent is there to pick them up at the bus stop every day. The bus company does not allow kindergarten students off of the bus unless they have someone there to greet them. Will there be a summer kindergarten program this year? Yes, that is the plan. We have a kindergarten warm-up. So based upon some of the screening scores or information we get from our early childhood, some people might get invited to that. But there will be an option for a kindergarten warm up. It's a limited program. We only have a couple of classrooms in the summer for that. Our class is set from the beginning, or is there a short grace period to see if there's a specific teacher? We pretty much have them set at the beginning. We've done some different things that allowed some shuffling with students, but we've kind of landed on, we know some other schools in the area do this. We tried it for a couple of years, and with the screening scores and the kindergarten teachers working together as a team, we've tried to do our best to get students in that class that they're going to be in from day one, and to decrease some anxiety of shuffling around a little bit too much. We found that it created some anxiety that we didn't have when they remained in one classroom. Dare I ask, how are things looking to drop the mask for next year? I'm not going to answer that question because every time I'm optimistic, we face a setback. So we're always hoping that we'll be able to get past the mask, and we're hoping to get the mask optional even soon this year. So, but I don't want to jinx anything. So I'm not going to answer that because I don't want to jinx it. Typical teacher student ratio, our max kindergarten classroom would be 22. If we get 22 students, when we want to add that 23rd student, we usually would add an aide to that classroom. Or if we get too many more, we would add another classroom. Just another reason why it's important to register early, because the district, if we need to add staff, we would rather do that in June than wait until August and be adding staff at the last minute. We get better qualified people when we can hire in May and June. So once again, just another reason to register as soon as possible so we know how many teachers we're going to need. All right, so I thank you all for joining us here tonight, and thank you to Ms. Sontag and Dr. Falter and Mrs. Each. And I want to thank Mrs. Fisher also. She was texting me, she was trying to get on, it just didn't work out tonight, but our other teachers stepped up and covered everything well. And thank you to Mr. Dobson, who has been running the show for us in the webinar, and he will have this presentation up on our district YouTube channel later this week. So if you missed anything, you had to leave early, come check us out on YouTube. If you have any questions, remember Terry Musante is our registrar, and she will be able to help you out. And Kennerly, you guys are on the clock. Registration began today. So let's get those Kennerly students registered. Everyone have a wonderful evening. We'll see you soon.